Hare Krishna. Very happy and grateful to be a part of the BHAGAVATA KOVIDA series, and very happy to be amidst all of you all here today, sharing some thoughts on Krishna consciousness, and specifically on the subject matter of the unusual pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan. So today we are going to discuss some really amazing stories from Vrindavan that will leave you all inspired, excited, and very deeply connected with Krishna. Of course, these pastimes that I'm going to be sharing with you all are very sweet pastimes. Usually in my lectures, there's a lot of analysis. Sometimes it gets so overwhelmingly complicated that people just, get some head spins also. But there are some times when I don't like to do any analysis, and where I just like to speak something that comes from my heart, and it straight reaches the hearts of those who are hearing it. And these are sessions where there is absolutely zero analysis, very minimal amount of analysis, and there is a great amount of rasa and spiritual pleasure in hearing and unanalytical and sweet stories of Krishna. I'm going to be sharing a lot of stories today. It's just going to be like one after another, stories like that. But within these stories, again, there is a lot that you can obviously learn on a personal level. But I will leave that up to you all to do. Also, before I get into the stories and dive deep in, I'll just set the mood of Vrindavan, and then we begin the stories of the unusual pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan. Vrindavan is a place where there is dynamic activity happening. There is a lot of dynamism, there is a lot of excitement, there is a lot of activity happening in Vrindavan. But everything that is happening in Vrindavan is centered around Krishna. And the amazing thing is, when the Vrajavasis go through any kind of difficulties, any kind of troubles, traumas, problems, they run to Krishna and seek solution in Krishna's association. Satyavrat Muni in the Damodara Ashtakam, he explains this concept in a very simple way. He says, Iti drikshva leelabir ananda kunde swagosham nimajjantam akhyapayantam. So he says, Iti drikshva leelabir. So he talks about all the pastimes of Krishna. Iti drikshva leelabir ananda kunde. He compares the pastimes of Krishna to be ananda kunda, a pot or a vessel or a pond of bliss. Just like if you have a gulab jamun, you're making these balls of gulab jamun and you soak them into sugar syrup, and the sugar syrup just is absorbed into these gulab jamuns, and then you squeeze the gulab jamun or the rasgulla, the nectar that is inside it just drips, it just falls, Similarly, the Brajavasis are jumping into this Iti Drikshva Leelabir Ananda Kunde. For them, Krishna Leela is like a pot of nectar, and they jump into it, they dive into it, they swim in it, they float in it, they drown in it, and they are so intensely absorbed in dipping themselves. So anytime they go through calamities in their life, they jump into Ananda Kunde. Iti drikshva leelabir ananda kunde swaghosham nimajjantam akhyapayantam. Nimajjantam word is for dipping. So what we are going to do today is we are going to dip ourselves in Krishna Leela, and we are going to see if, obviously, we can't experience anything that the Vrajavasis experienced, but still Krishna Leela has its potency and has its power. Hopefully, when we hear and discuss Krishna Leela, we will find that we are dipping in it, and the experience of bliss is as much available today as it was available when Krishna was in Vrindavan. And we have the facility to avail this Ananda Kunda anytime in our lives. Whenever we feel that we need hope, when we need an experience of love in a situation of extreme despair, whenever we need a dose of Krishna consciousness in a situation of extreme despair, those are the times we jump into Ananda Kunda. So today I'm going to push all of y'all into Ananda Kunde. I'm going to push all of y'all into a pot of nectar. And hopefully after 1 hour, 45 minutes, once I finish, all of y'all will be feeling like the Rasgulla or the Gulab Jamun, completely soaked so much in the nectar syrup in the Ananda Kunde that if anybody pinches you, nectar will come out from all directions. And that's the hope for today's session. So let us please dive into these beautiful pastimes of Krishna. A lot of them you would have never ever heard in your life. Some of them you would have heard, but even if you have heard them, hearing Krishna Katha is never, is not at all something that is unhearable again. In fact, we hear it every time, it feels more pleasurable. So I'll begin with some stories of Krishna in Vrindavan. So I'm going to be speaking mostly about the Balya Leela, that's very, very small age of Krishna, between the age of 1.5 years to about 3-4 years. That is the span in which many of these pastimes happened, and that is the span at which we're going to discuss these pastimes. So when Krishna Balaram were very, very small, so Krishna Balaram, they used to be dressed in a very different type of attire. In fact, a lot of times Krishna Balaram would not be wearing any clothes on their body. The only cloth or the only ornament on their body would be a waist belt, a golden waist belt, and which would have a small bell on it. So Krishna sometimes, he was so small, about 1.5 years old, and when Krishna would walk, this little bell that was dangling on his waist belt would be ringing. And Krishna would be so intrigued by the noise, the sound that this bell is making, he would be running all around to find out where that sound is coming from. And the funny part was, the sound was coming from his own bell, and which is tied to his own waist. But Krishna would not know only, and he would be so much running all directions, just looking for the bell and looking for where the sound is coming from. One time the gopis of Vrindavan, the young gopis, they came and surrounded Krishna Balaram. Krishna Balaram were very, very small, 1.5 years old literally. And the gopis, they caught Krishna and Balaram and told them that we want you all to do a wrestling match. Now imagine 1.5-year-old kids, what wrestling will they do, And they told them, whoever wins between you all, will give them a laddu. And Krishna Balaram, immediately they were excited and they started acting as if they were wrestlers. Imagine these small kids, not wearing any clothes on their body except one waist belt. And the small kids, they are standing in front of each other, one blackish and one whitish in complexion. And both of them, they are slapping their thighs, they are hitting their arms, and they are acting as if they are wrestlers, getting into an intense fight. And as Krishna Balaram, jump on each other, they act like professional wrestlers fighting, and the fight becomes really intense. The gopis are clapping and inspiring them to fight and have this intense wrestling match. And as Krishna Balaram are having this wrestling, they both together, they actually look at each other and they understand what the plan is. Both of them keep losing 1-1 match. One match Krishna loses and one match Balaram loses. The next match Krishna loses, the next match Balaram loses. So like that, they alternate losing and winning, and each time they win, they get a laddu. And like that, they accumulate a huge amount of laddus, and they are so happy with their intelligence. Krishna, he is known as a butter thief. But there is a story about how he became a butter thief, which is a very interesting story. This story is about the first time in his life that Krishna ever stole butter. And the most amazing thing is, Krishna stole butter for the first time in his own house. And the story is exciting and amazing. So when Krishna, he was a very small child, one day he somehow happened to enter into the storeroom where Yashoda Mai would store all the butter. And when Krishna discovered the storeroom, this is the first time in his life that he knew that where the butter was stored. He already loved butter because Yashoda Mai, whenever she gave him a little of butter, and that taste of the butter was so amazing, Krishna always hankered for it. Mother Yashoda would give him in small quantities. And Krishna, he felt, how much ever he ate the butter, it was just not enough. Because for Krishna, the butter was not just butter, it was the love of Mother Yashoda for him. And therefore, he was really excited about eating large quantity of butter. And while Krishna was inside the storeroom, he got inside the storeroom and he sat next to a pot. He put his hand inside the pot and he began to eat the butter. And when he was eating, he closed his eyes and he was swallowing the taste of the butter in his tongue, experiencing the greatness of Mother Yashoda's love. And as he was doing that, suddenly his hand was caught and he opened his eyes. His meditation broke. When he opened his eyes, he saw in front of him was Mother Yashoda standing with an angry stare. This is the first time he ever stole butter and he was caught. Now, Krishna, he didn't know what to do. He had no idea how to handle this. Exactly at that time, as Krishna was in a dilemma, Mother Yashoda asked him, "What are you doing?" And Krishna, out of his, just in a moment, Krishna said, I came here because the bangle that you put on my hand, there was a diamond studded bangle that he was wearing. He said the diamond studded bangle was causing so much heat in my hand. So I was looking for a place where I can cool my hand. So I came here and I found this butter pot and I put my hand inside to cool my hand. Now Mother Yashoda was very stunned by that reply. So she immediately pulled out the hand of Krishna from the pot of butter and she touched the hand of Krishna to see if it was burning the way Krishna described it. And as she was touching the hand of Krishna to see if it was burning, she realized that it's completely normal, absolutely normal. But Krishna said, no, it's burning very intensely. But when I put inside the pot of butter, it becomes very cool. So Mother Yashoda asks him, if you are putting your hand inside the pot of butter to cool your hand, what is butter doing on your mouth, on your face? I can see there's a lot of butter on your face. Now Krishna was stunned again, and he needed a moment to think. And the next moment he got an answer. He said, he was telling his mother that as I was eating butter, an ant was crawling on my face. And when the ant was crawling, I had to remove my finger and just wipe my face to remove the ant. And while I wiped my face to remove the ant, the butter came on my face also. Mother Yashoda was bewildered by the answer. She didn't know what to say. So she just picked up Krishna, put him on her lap, and she walked away from there. And as Yashoda was walking, Krishna breathed a sigh of relief. He was saved. And that's the moment when he realized that I can become a butter thief. I can get away with anything. And his confidence in himself was extremely high. And Krishna suddenly realized that he can fool people, he can speak lies, he can make excuses, and he can do whatever he wants. And that's how Krishna, he became a butter thief. The first successful story of Krishna becoming a butter thief was at his own home in Vrindavan. Obviously, as Krishna began to steal in so many gopis' houses, he became more and more notorious. And the gopis, they would come and complain to Mother Yashoda. In fact, the idea of Krishna stealing butter, it became a very famous story across Vrindavan. Every single day, some gopi or the other would come to Mother Yashoda's house and complain about Krishna stealing butter. And somehow, Krishna had his own different ways of getting away from being caught, from being punished by Mother Yashoda. So many times, he would do funny things just to get away from Mother Yashoda. One time, a gopi came and complained about Krishna very intensely. She was very, very upset and angry that Krishna stole her butter. And Krishna actually ran away from her house just before her and reached Mother Yashoda before the gopi reached. And when Krishna reached Mother Yashoda before the gopi, Krishna went and hid behind Mother Yashoda. He went and hid behind her and he was waiting. And the gopi came. So when the gopi came, she began to complain intensely to Mother Yashoda. And as she was complaining, suddenly she started laughing. And she started laughing like mad. She was laughing and laughing and laughing. And after a few moments, she became very serious. And again she started complaining about Krishna. And a moment later, she started laughing again like mad. And Mother Yashoda was wondering what's wrong with this gopi. Just now she is normal and just now she is laughing. What's wrong with her? And then this gopi, at some point she realized there's no point in even trying. She just walked away without saying anything. And then Mother Yashoda, she brought Krishna from behind ahead to see if Krishna had to do anything with this. And Krishna's face was so innocent, absolutely innocent. And he smiled at Mother Yashoda, and Yashoda realized he can't do anything. He is a simple boy. But actually what had happened was, Krishna was standing behind Mother Yashoda and making all kinds of faces at the gopi. He was like doing all kinds of funny faces, monkey faces, all kinds of different faces, making his eyes small, making his ears big, making his mouth, oval and all different shapes. And the gopi was astounded with the kind of variety that Krishna was doing, and she couldn't stop her laughter. And every time she controlled herself, Krishna would make it even worse. And therefore, the gopi just couldn't speak at all, couldn't complain at all. Another time, a gopi came and she was trying to complain to Mother Yashoda. And then Krishna, he stamped in front of Mother Yashoda and told her, don't listen to her. And Mother Yashoda asked Krishna, why? Why should I not listen to her? And Krishna tells, she is a batanga. Now the gopi was bewildered, Yashoda was bewildered, So Yashoda was confused. What does that word even mean? Batanga, So Yashoda asked her, what is a batanga? Who is a batanga? Krishna said, she is a batanga. And then Yashoda asked her, what do you mean by batanga? Krishna said, batanga is a sister of matanga. And now Yashoda was thinking, who is matanga now? And Krishna is saying, that's how it is. And he ran away from there, The gopi and Yashoda was thinking, what did he even say? They couldn't understand what he was trying to say. So Krishna just made up some words just to distract their minds and shift the focus from the topic to something else, basically, So Krishna would do all these funny and crazy things to stop the gopis from complaining to Mother Yashoda. One time, a gopi was hiding in her own house and she was waiting for Krishna to come. And Krishna came and Krishna stole the butter. And as his hand was inside the pot of butter and he was about to start eating the butter, suddenly the gopi jumps out and catches Krishna's hand and the gopi tells Krishna, why are you stealing butter in my house? And as soon as the gopi says, why are you stealing butter in my house? Krishna looks at her and with a very innocent face, Krishna tells her, oh, this is your house. I thought this was my house. And he just looks at her so innocently. The gopi gets bewildered, The Acharyas explained that behind this beautiful story is a very powerful understanding of what Krishna is trying to say. The Acharyas explained that Krishna is telling the gopi, oh, this is your house. I thought it was my house. The Acharyas say everything in this world belongs to Krishna. Everything is Krishna's property. And when the gopi is saying, you're stealing butter in my house, Krishna is telling her, how is it your house? Everything belongs to me. I am, everything is my property. And that's how the gopi reacted. Another time, Krishna was stealing butter in a gopi's house. And as he was stealing butter, the gopi opened the door and she caught Krishna with his hand inside the pot of butter. And she caught him and she said, I caught you stealing butter in my house. Krishna looked at her and said, no, I am not stealing butter in your house. So then Gopi says, what are you doing? Your hand is inside the pot of butter. Krishna says, no, I am not stealing butter in your house. So the Gopi says, what are you doing here? Krishna says, I lost a calf. My most beautiful calf, I lost it. And I searched all over Vrindavan, I could not find the calf. The only place I have not searched for the calf is inside this pot of butter. And I am looking for my calf inside the pot of butter. The gopi was stunned. I mean, look at the excuse, So she didn't even know how to respond to this. So she is staring at Krishna and trying to figure out what does he even mean by that. And then Krishna suddenly removes his hand from the pot of butter. And in the hand of Krishna is a marble calf. A very small, tiny marble calf. And the gopi is shocked. Krishna says, I found it. And he runs away from there, And the gopi, she doesn't know what to do now, She's totally bewildered. So like this, Krishna has so many amazing variety of ways to get away from, his stealing pastimes and not get caught like this. One time, Krishna was celebrating his birthday. And Krishna's birthday celebrations are amazing. They are such powerful sources of excitement, entertainment, fun, but at the same time, so many things that Mother Yashoda would love. So one day, when Krishna got up on his birthday, he was about 2 years old at that time. Mother Yashoda told him, the first thing on your birthday is we should worship the cow. So she told Krishna, please get one beautiful calf. And we should do go puja, worship the calf. So Krishna runs into the Goshala. Nanda Maharaj has 900,000 cows and so many beautiful cows, and Krishna had to choose one among them. So Krishna brought one beautiful, white and extremely beautiful looking calf, and he dragged it and brought it into Nanda Bhavan. As Krishna brought the calf into Nanda Bhavan, suddenly Krishna saw something that attracted his eyes. He saw hanging on the ceiling was a huge pot of butter. Krishna completely forgot the purpose for which he got the calf. He parked the calf exactly below the pot of butter. He got on top of the calf and he stood on it. And he reached out to the pot of butter which was hanging on the ceiling. And he caught the pot of butter. As soon as he caught the pot of butter, something interesting happened. The calf that was standing below, it ran away. And Krishna was left hanging on the pot of butter. Imagine, the scene. From the ceiling, a pot of butter is hanging. And holding on to that pot of butter is Krishna hanging. And Krishna started screaming, he started shouting to his mother, help me, help me. And Mother Yashoda comes running out of the room and she finds Krishna is hanging from the ceiling. And she asks him, how did he reach over there? And Krishna said, I will tell you that later, but please bring me down. Mother Yashoda tells Krishna, you remain hanging over there. And she goes. And that's how Krishna's birthday that day is celebrated. That's how the birthday begins. Another time, Krishna was celebrating his birthday. So there was one problem, which was a major problem during every Janmashtami. Every birthday of Krishna, there was one big problem in Nanda Bhavan. The big problem in Nanda Bhavan was, Nanda Maharaj would bring all kinds of gifts for Krishna to give to his friends. These are return gifts. But Krishna was never happy with the quality of return gifts that he would give. So his friends would start coming and they would get all kinds of gifts. And usually his friends gave very simple gifts to Krishna. One friend, he came and gave a beautiful peacock feather. Another friend came and gave a 3-colored flower. Another friend, he came and put a tilak on Krishna's head. A tilak made from cow dung. Now imagine what a gift to give. And Krishna, whenever he would receive these gifts from his friends, he would love them. He loved these gifts. And he loved these gifts so much that he would actually feel so excited about receiving them. So when, the one friend of his put a tilak on Krishna's head, made of cow dung, Krishna ran all through that party and showing everybody, see what Bhadra has given me. See what Bhadra has given me. For him, those small gifts that his friends gave were the most beautiful and the best gifts that anybody would ever get. And Krishna, he would want to return back those gifts. He would want to return back and give his friends better gifts than what they give him. And then Nanda Maharaj would start giving out different gifts for Krishna to give out. And Nanda Maharaj would spend the whole year collecting these gifts from different parts of the world. So practically from every part of the world there would be different gifts coming in. Shawls coming in, diamonds coming in, all kinds of precious stones coming in. So many costly things just for Krishna to give out to his friends. But whenever Krishna would look at these gifts, these costly gifts, he would throw it away. And he would say, this is nothing compared to the 3-color flower that my friend gave. So here, Krishna couldn't find any gift that was worth giving his friends. Because Krishna saw the love with which his friends gave. And he found those simple gifts more precious than the costliest of the costly gifts that Nanda Maharaj would accumulate. At that point, and every year this would happen. And every year Krishna would cry on his birthday. And he would be crying and crying and crying to that he is not able to give gifts to his friends. And Yashoda and Nanda would be heartbroken. And every year they had to find a different way to pacify Krishna. One particular year, Balramji came to Krishna and he told him something that was fascinating. Balram asked Krishna, Krishna, what do you have that your friends don't have? He asked Krishna, what do you have that your friends don't have? And Krishna immediately began to think. And he started thinking again and again, what do I have that my friends don't have? And suddenly he got it. He jumped up and he ran. He said, I know what I have that my friends have. He ran to his friends and he would hug one of his friends, Bhadra or Toke, any of these friends, these small boys. He would hug them and he would tell, I am yours. He would tell Bhadra, Bhadra, I am yours. Then he would hug Subal. Subal, I am yours. And that was Krishna's gift to his friends. What is it that his friends didn't have that he had himself? And imagine what Krishna is giving his friends. Krishna is giving himself to his friends. What better gift can be there for Krishna to give than to give himself. And that's how Krishna would give return gifts to his friends. Every friend that came, Krishna would embrace them and say, I'm yours. And that was the way in which Krishna reciprocated with his friends in Vrindavan. So like that, Krishna did so many amazing things with his friends in Vrindavan. One time, Krishna was in a very, very funny and a very weird situation. He early in the morning one day, he went and knocked on the door of one Gopi's house. This Gopi had the best butter in Vrindavan, and he knocked on her door. When he knocked on her door, the Gopi opened the door, and she was surprised to see Krishna early in the morning in her house. And this Gopi looked at Krishna and she asked him, what happened? Krishna, in a very innocent and charming way, he told the Gopi, we have guests in our house, and the sadhus have come, sages have come, powerful sages have come, and Mother Yashoda has asked me to go to your house and get some butter, because we don't have any butter in our house today. Now the Gopi was so excited that Mother Yashoda actually thought about her and asked her for butter. The Gopi ran in and got 2 pots of butter. Krishna actually asked for only 1 pot of butter. The Gopi got 2 pots of butter, and she offered the 2 pots of butter to Krishna, and she said, please give these pots of butter to Mother Yashoda. And along with the pots of butter, she gave also a packet of mishri. Mishri is sugar balls, sweet sugar balls. And she told Krishna that when you offer the sages the butter, please mix the sugar balls in the butter, they'll taste much better. So Krishna was excited that he's got the butter and the packet of mishri, and he told her, Mother Yashoda said she will send back the pots of butter back to you in return. The Gopi said, no, don't worry, tell her this is my gift to you. The Gopi closed the door, and Krishna turned behind. As soon as the Gopi closed the door, Krishna called out to all his friends, and all the friends of Krishna came running out. They were all hiding in different places. And as soon as the Gopi went, the friends came out, and all of them surrounded Krishna, and they were looking hungrily at the pots of butter. And Krishna sat there itself. The friends were shocked. The friends said, come on, you can't sit here and eat. The Gopi will open the door anytime. Krishna said, no, there is no greater fun than eating outside the house from which you have stolen. This is the greatest thrill in the world. And Krishna sat on the door of the Gopi, and all the friends sat around Krishna, and Krishna passed on the butter to everybody, and they were busy eating butter with the sugar balls. In the meanwhile, inside the house, the Gopi could hear a small sound. It almost sounded like monkeys biting on some things. And she was thinking, it sounds like monkeys are sitting outside my house and playing some mischief. And she opened the door of the house. When she opened the door of the house, she got the biggest shock of her life. Outside the house, Krishna and his friends were sitting and eating the pot of butter and the mishri that she had given them for the sages. She got wild. She started shouting at Krishna. She said, Krishna, you said these pots of butter were for the sages. And where are the sages? Are these stupid boys that you're sitting with, are the sages you're talking about? So when the Gopi called the boys stupid, Krishna got very angry. And Krishna got up. He said, don't dare call my friends stupid. You don't know who they are. All of them are nothing less than great sages. And he actually telling the Gopi, look at these sages. They are such powerful sages. And you will be blessed by serving them. And he pointed out to 2 boys who were the smallest of the lot. And these 2 boys had come completely naked from home, And he's pointing out to the 2 boys and he's telling, these are the Naga Babas. Can you see they're totally naked? They're such renowned sages. You should not be shouting at them, but rather you should be worshipping them. Offer your obeisances to them and do dandavat to them. And the Gopi was This was too much for her. First of all, stealing from her, lying to her, stealing from her, and sitting outside her own door and eating the butter, and on top of that, giving her only advice what to do and what not to do. So this was too much for the gopi. And she said, I am going to show you all what is the meaning of Dandavat. She said, I am going to go inside and get a danda and beat each one of you. And she ran inside to get a danda. All these boys got up and ran away from there. And that's how they got away with yet another very exciting and interesting episode of stealing butter in Vrindavan. So Krishna and his friends were extremely innovative in so many ways of stealing butter. I'm going to tell you another story. This is a story that you may have heard before. This is a story of the fruit vendor. But the details with which we're going to discuss the story now are amazing, and you may have never heard those details before. And these details make the pastime even more sweeter and even more beautiful to hear. One time, there was a fruit vendor who heard about Krishna, and she had a great eagerness to see Krishna once. She lived in Mathura, but she would come every day to Vrindavan to sell fruits with this one desire that she would get to see Krishna one day. And she was so absorbed in Krishna, she was so much absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna that she completely forgot about selling her fruits. So she would roam around Vrindavan, the village of Vrindavan, and keep taking the names of the different fruits that she is selling. But instead of saying, take bananas, take apples, take guavas, she would say, take Govinda, take Damodar, take Madhava. She would chant names of Krishna instead of names of the fruits. And that's how she spent many days traveling around Vrindavan and trying to have darshan of Krishna. One day she made a decision. She said, if I don't see Krishna today, then I'm not going to return back. And she was determined to have darshan of Krishna that day. And with that determination, she came to Vrindavan. And she went to Nanda Bhavan and started shouting out that I have fruits, beautiful fruits to buy. And as the gopi shouted out the names of the fruits that she was selling, Krishna heard it. And Krishna heard it for the first time. And he came running out with great excitement out. And Krishna, he had seen his mother buy fruits in the past. And he knew that if I have to get fruits, I need to give her grains. So while running out of the house, Krishna put his hand inside a sack of grains. And he picked up a handful of grains. Now imagine, Krishna was so small. He was a tiny baby at that point. And his hands were so tiny first of all. And on top of that, when he gripped his hands, there would be small gaps in between his fingers. And all the grains were falling off from the gaps. And by the time Krishna reached the gopi, who was the fruit seller, all the grains had fallen off. And there were only 2 grains left in the hands of Krishna. And Krishna looks at the fruit seller and tells her, give me fruits, I want to buy fruits. The gopi asks Krishna, what will you give in return? Krishna tells her, I have lots of grains. And he opens his hands. When he opens his fingers, she sees only 2 grains over there. And Krishna is shocked and surprised. So he's not able to believe that there's only 2 grains in his palm, because he had collected so many grains. This is the pastime of Krishna, which is quite amazing, that he comes to attract our hearts. Now, all these pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan are specifically meant for only one purpose. The only purpose for which Krishna performs these beautiful pastimes is to give us an experience of the spiritual world. Therefore, one of the names of Krishna is known as Anubhav Pradhan. Anubhav Pradhan means what? Anubhav means experience. So Krishna has come to give us an experience of the spiritual world. Just like to see a movie which is 3 hours, you first watch a trailer which is 3 minutes. And if you see the trailer which is 3 minutes, you are excited to go and spend your 3 hours to watch this movie. In 3-minute trailer, everything you need to know to watch the 3-hour movie is there. Similarly, Krishna comes to Vrindavan and gives a 3-minute trailer. to all the jivas, to all the living entities, to performing his amazing pastimes. And if you like these pastimes in Vrindavan, this is only the trailer. Come to the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, you will find unlimited more pastimes happening there. But the problem is, the trailer is always free. And if you want to come to the spiritual world, you have to pay a price. And that's what chanting of 16 rounds is. That's what doing so much of sadhana bhakti is. That's what so much of absorption is needed. That's the price we need to pay to go and see the pastimes of Krishna in the spiritual world. But when he comes to the material world, he performs his pastimes freely. And that's the anubhav that we have of Krishna in the spiritual world. And therefore Krishna is known as Anubhav Pradhan. And the most beautiful pastimes of Krishna are obviously the pastimes in Vrindavan, the childhood pastimes of Krishna. And these childhood pastimes of Krishna are so beautiful and so mesmerizing that many times we just completely get captivated by these childhood pastimes of Krishna. And there's a good chance that we will be excited about going to the spiritual world. So this gopi, this fruit vendor, when she saw there are only 2 grains in the hands of Krishna, she said, this is not enough to get you fruits. So Krishna didn't know what to do. So the fruit vendor told Krishna, so she was bargaining with Krishna now. So the fruit vendor told Krishna, I'll give you the fruits, but you should call me mother once. Just call me mother once, and I'll give you as many fruits as you want. Now, Krishna was completely confused. In fact, Krishna, he started looking here and there because his mother had told him not to talk to strangers. And here was a lady who was a stranger telling him to call her mother. And then Krishna was not sure if any of his friends were looking, because Krishna didn't want any of his friends to see him call some stranger mother. So Krishna looked around here and there and he saw no one was there. Mother Yashoda was not watching. Suddenly he called her, Mother! And then he jumped into her laps. He sat on the lap of this lady for a few seconds and then jumped out of the lap of this lady and he said, give me fruits now. This lady was stunned. She was totally bewildered. She couldn't believe that Krishna not only called her mother, but he actually sat on her lap for a few seconds. Imagine the love that this lady must have felt for the Supreme Lord at that point. And this lady, she was totally bewildered. She took out the fruits from a basket and filled up Krishna's hands. So Krishna was holding his hands like this, and the lady was filling up Krishna's hands. So Krishna held all the fruits, as many as he could hold, and he jumped and he ran into Nanda Bhavan. And this lady remained seated over there for many, many hours. Inside Nanda Bhavan, Krishna went and dropped all the fruits into the sari of Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda was having all these fruits in her sari, and she started distributing one fruit to the gopis. And as she gave out the fruits to the gopis, she is giving out hundreds of fruits, but still the fruits are not getting over in her possession. And that's how this became a magical basket almost, giving out so many fruits. In the meanwhile, it became evening, and the fruit vendor was still sitting outside the house of Nanda Bhavan, and she was staring at the door into which Krishna entered. And the fruit vendor was totally stunned. She was totally stunned. In fact, she was so stunned that she just froze. Somebody in the evening tapped her shoulders and told her, it's evening time, you have to go back home now. And then she woke up from a daze and she got up, picked up a basket, put it on her head and walked towards the Yamuna river. As she reached the Yamuna river, she saw that her basket seemed heavy. She put down her basket and she saw that the basket was filled with hundreds of diamonds and rubies and all kinds of precious stones. Krishna had given her, in exchange for the fruits, unlimited quantities of jewels. This lady had a thought in her mind. She was thinking, what do I do with these jewels? I have already received the greatest jewel, the greatest gift of Krishna, the association of Krishna, the darshan of Krishna. She said, I cannot think of anything which is more precious than this. And she said, these diamonds and jewels are useless for me. And she actually threw all the jewels into the river. And she threw all the jewels thinking that these are mundane and useless pieces of stones for me. From that day onwards, nobody ever saw this lady again in Vrindavan. And in fact, a lot of people say that this lady, she actually left her and went back to the spiritual world after that episode. But the amazing thing is, look at the sweetness of this reciprocation with Krishna. Look at the sweetness of Krishna connecting with his devotees. Krishna loves his devotees and his devotees love him. And look at the sweetness with which Krishna reciprocates with his devotees. One time in Vrindavan, as Krishna and Srimati Radharani had a very amazing relationship, and their relationship was very, very deep. One day, there are some times when Radharani would get upset with Krishna and she would stop talking to him. And whenever Radha would get upset with Krishna and stop talking to him, she would go and sit on top of a mountain, which is known as Mangad. And she would sit on this mountain and be in a sulking mood. So Krishna ran up when he came to know that Radha is upset with him, and he ran on top of the mountain. And when he reached on top of the mountain, he saw Radha is sitting on a slab of stone and she is crying. So Krishna goes and tries to pacify her, tries to talk to her, tries to make her laugh. Radha is just not pacified. She is too sad. And Krishna realizes there is only one way to make her happy. And what is the way? He realizes the only way to make her happy is by playing the flute. So Krishna takes out his flute and starts playing. And he plays such an amazing melody, that suddenly one peacock from the forest comes out, stands in front of Radha and Krishna and starts dancing. He raises his feathers and dances amazingly in tune with the flute of Krishna. And as Krishna is playing the flute and this peacock is dancing, Radha looks at the peacock and there's a slight smile on her face. Another peacock joins in and starts dancing. And a moment later, a third peacock joins in, starts dancing. A few moments later, a few more peacocks come. And very soon, all around Krishna and Radha, there are thousands and thousands of peacocks with their wings spread, dancing so amazingly. When Srimati Radharani sees all these thousands of peacocks dancing so beautifully, she completely forgets her anger. And she actually transforms herself into a peahen. And she begins to dance along. And Krishna transforms himself into a peacock. And he begins to dance. And the dancing of the peacocks and Radha and Krishna continues for hours and hours and hours. At the end of the whole experience of dancing with Radha and Krishna, the peacocks, they become so happy. The peacocks finally come, the leader of the peacocks come in front of Krishna and offers Krishna 5 peacock feathers. He offers Krishna these 5 peacock feathers. Krishna accepts those peacock feathers. And in fact, Krishna is so grateful to the peacocks. So the peacocks offer Krishna their feathers because they are so grateful to him for giving them such an amazing experience, unforgettable experience of their life. And Krishna is so grateful to the peacocks that because of them, Radha and her anger subsided. Krishna, he tells the peacocks, I am so grateful to you all that you are the ones who have reunited me with Radha. Therefore, I will, in memory of your service, of what you done for me, I am going to put the peacock feather on my head all life long. And that's the gratitude that Krishna has for the peacocks. So, these pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan are so amazing and so deep. Each of these pastimes are not just filled with devotion, but they are also filled with so much of innocence, beauty, excitement, fun, and at the same time so much of learning also. I'll end with one very interesting story, and this is one of my favorite stories of Krishna and Vrindavan. One time, Krishna and his friends go to steal butter in one gopi's house, and when they all reach the gopi's house, they jump in through the window. There's one window that is open in the house. They jump in one after another through the window, and they make a file, and they climb and they bring down the butter pots, and they're all eating the pots, eating butter, and they're eating so much in great excitement. They love the taste of the butter and the milk and all the milk products over there. And as they're eating all the butter, suddenly the door starts opening, and they realize the gopis have come. And Krishna and his friends, they start jumping out of the window at great speed, one after another, one after another, one after another. These boys were almost like monkeys, experts in doing all these things. And as soon as all the boys got out, there was only one boy that decided to go out in the end. And this boy was named Madhumangal. And Madhumangal, he had a very simple philosophy in life. He said, anyway, all of us have to leave, but might as well leave last. So all the boys, they jumped out, and Madhumangal kept eating because he loved to eat. He said, anyway, if I have to leave, let me leave last so that I can get to eat the maximum. And then when the door completely opened and the gopis were almost inside, Madhumangal decided, this is time for me to jump out. He ran to the window and he jumped out of the window. But the problem was, when he jumped in, he was quite thin. But because he ate so much butter inside, he had become very fat. And when he jumped out, his tummy was stuck in the windowsill. So he was not able to completely go out. So his head was out, his hands were out, and half of his chest was out. But his tummy and his legs were inside the house. The gopis had entered by then. And the gopis caught the legs of Madhumangal. And Krishna and his friends were outside the house. They caught the hands of Madhumangal. And both were pulling Madhumangal in two different directions. This is a tug of war going on. But this was not a tug of war. This is a tug of Madhumangal going on. And the gopis pulled inside. Krishna was pulling outside. Madhumangal was screaming in pain. He told Krishna, leave me. And Krishna left. And as soon as Krishna left, the gopis pulled him. And, Madhumangal fell off. And he was inside the house now. And the gopis, they got together and beat him up so intensely, And then finally, when Madhumangal was so beaten up black and blue, he came out of the house. And Krishna and his friends, Madhumangal went to Krishna and he said, what kind of a friend are you? You're supposed to be saving your friend, and you let your friend get beaten like this. Krishna was very upset, very angry that his friend is angry. And his friend is beaten up like that. So he went inside, he went to the gopis and he met them. And he told the gopis, because you all have beaten up a Brahmana boy, all of y'all will have husbands who are ugly, who are cruel, and who will be very bad to y'all. The gopis said, no, we want good husbands. We want very good husbands. Krishna said, there's only one way you can get good husbands. If you can make Madhumangal happy. And then the gopis, they knew how to make Madhumangal happy. It was very simple. They made a beautiful throne and they put Madhumangal on the throne and they offered him a huge plate of laddus. And there were so many laddus. So Madhumangal kept eating these laddus and giving blessings to all the gopis. And that's how Madhumangal was happy and the gopis also became happy eventually. And then Krishna obviously, with seeing everybody happy, he also became happy. So like that, the pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan are amazing. And there are so many nectarian pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan. In fact, I've been working on a book on these amazing and unusual pastimes of Krishna. The book should be out in a couple of months from now. And these pastimes of Krishna have the potency and power to attract our hearts. As I said, Krishna is known as Anubhav Pradhan. And when you hear these pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan, they really touch your heart in such deep ways. And this is what the idea of Ananda Kunda is. iti drikshva leelavir anandakunde swadosham nimajjantam akhyapayandam. So let us all absorb ourselves and dip ourselves into these amazing pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, and let us all keep ourselves immersed in these pastimes, which will help us transcend and deal with all the calamities that come into our life. Whenever we come across any tough times, any intense experiences in our life, this is the way in which we absorb ourselves in Krishna Leela. Jump into Ananda Kunde, and hopefully all of you all, after this 1 hour of hearing all these amazing pastimes of Lord Krishna, all of you will also be feeling soaked in the nectar of Krishna Katha, the experience of Ananda Kunde. Hare Krishna. I'll stop here. If anybody has any quick questions or comments, we'll be happy to take 1 or 2 before we end. So you can please feel free to type on the chat window in front of you, and I will answer 1 or 2 questions, and then we will end today's session. So while while questions are coming, I just would like to thank each and every one of you all for attending these Bhagavat KOVIDA sessions, and hopefully these sessions are helping you all in your personal journeys through this crisis that the world is going through. And hopefully these sessions of so many amazing devotees sharing their realizations will actually help deal with this in the most effective and the best ways. These phases of lockdown, obviously things which are tough for all of us, but so many great devotees experience lockdown in their own lives. You know, Vasudeva and Devaki were locked down in the jail in Mathura. So many of the Vrajavasis were locked down in their own homes. The greatest lockdown happened under the Govardhan Hill for 7 days and 7 nights, where they were all living inside a small, under a small hill for 7 days and nights in a cramped atmosphere. And Mother Teresa went through an intense lockdown in Lanka for 10 months that lasted, and so many stories. Lord Ram was locked down in a cave in Malyavanta Parvat, so many people experience their lockdowns in so many ways. So all of us experiencing lockdowns is going to actually, it's not something very special that we are doing. It's just that we are contributing in our own way by staying safe and staying secure in our own homes. There's one question that I'll answer and then we'll end. The question is, how do we ensure we always remember these pastimes of Lord Krishna? I was once in Udupi, and when I was in Udupi, I saw something that I will never forget in my life. Because I saw there were so many ladies, they were sitting in a big circle, huge, at least about 40-50 ladies, and they were making flower garlands for Krishna, for Udupi Krishna. And while making these flower garlands, all these ladies were singing Krishna bhajans, and none of them had any books, none of them had any paper, none of them had any mobile phones in front of them, and they were singing constantly, and they were singing for hours together, literally. And I was amazed with the devotion of these personalities. And that's what Vrindavan is. Whatever Krishna does in Vrindavan, in the day, Mother Yashoda would convert into poetry in the evening, and she would make it into amazing poems. And by the next day morning, the whole of Vrindavan would know these poems. And by the next day, everyone in Vrindavan is chanting, singing the stories of Krishna which happened the previous day. And that's how they would remember and recall. So the best way to remember and absorb ourselves in the pastimes of Lord Krishna is by constantly reminding ourselves of these pastimes. As long as, so we have short-term memory and long-term memory. There are some things we need to keep recalling again and again to transfer them into our long-term memory. So when we come across these pastimes, when we come across so many of the topics of Krishna Katha that we are discussing, it is in our short-term memory in the beginning. But as we keep recollecting it, sharing it, hearing it again and again, it goes into our long-term memory, and then it remains with us forever. All these ladies in Udupi which I saw, all the Vrajavasis in Vrindavan, They have made every single pastime of Krishna forever in their long-term memory, and it reaches the long-term memory when you actually intensely keep chanting it, remembering it, recalling it for a long period of time, so that it gets the transfer. So therefore, we are very, very fortunate that even in our times, we have so many people who have such absorption in Krishna. Obviously, we are not there at all. We are very far away from it. But there is no harm in trying. So let us all intensely absorb ourselves in these pastimes by recalling, remembering, and sharing it with so many others. I'm very, very grateful to all for your patient listening and being here so enthusiastically participating in these sessions. I'm very grateful to the team of Sri Radha Gopinath for having invited me to speak and share my thoughts on the unusual pastimes of Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
RG Media YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe.